Hey, hello everyone. Welcome back to our next session on strategic human resource management. Just to brief about the previous sessions, I would like to again introduce what exactly is strategy all about. So, strategy comes out of process of ascertaining objectives of business unit and making necessary changes in such objectives, taking decisions in respect of utilization of required resources for achieving objects or goals in the organization, and taking policy decisions to get resources and its uses and or its disposals. So strategic management, as per the general opinion, strategic management is the strategic planning implemented by the management for solution of various problems which arose in the area of production or employees or finance in a business unit. So, moving upon what exactly is strategic human resource management. So, strategic human resource management is an approach related to decisions about the nature of employment relationship, then about recruitment, then about training, about development, then performance management, reward system, and employee relationship as well. So the term strategy itself speaks about all these activities, policies and procedures, designing all these activities, policies and procedures, of course, for a long term. So let me just put light on the scope of strategic management as well. So the scope of strategic management is to fix a mission of an unit, then to make favorable internal environment, then analysis and evaluate even the external environment as well. So when SWOT analysis does more on internal environment, our PESTEL analysis works more on external environment. So here then selection of new alternatives to achieve mission, then to develop grand strategy, to fix short-term annual targets, to raise resources and facilities, evaluation and control on activities. So explanation for all these will be in my previous videos. Please, you can go through those videos also if you haven't gone through. So moving upon to the next one, it is one of the very important aspects. Here we are speaking about 4 major components of HRM. These are the major components of HRM, starting with human resource, then activities, then pattern and plans, then purpose for what HRM is. So here it's very clear HRM doesn't focus only on human resources. It is only one of the component or one of the attribute of strategic human resource management. So it concentrates on all these activities, then the objective, then the plans and policies as well. Again, these are all I'm just briefing my previous sessions. So you can just have a look at it if you haven't. So when you ask about human resource management as an asset, I'll just put you on to another slide. So human resources as an asset. So how do you define human resources as an asset? So HR, though they are considered as human assets and very important intellectual assets of the organization, can you actually treat them as other tangible or intangible assets in the organization? So never, you cannot, because we are intellectual, we are human beings, so you cannot treat us as just a normal non-living asset. So here, when you're considering human resource as an asset, HR are not owned by the firm. So we are not owned by the firm. Whatever we are, our skills, our training, whatever we are contributing for the organization, in turn they are compensating us by giving salaries. So they're compensating us through money. Okay, yeah, monetary aspects. Okay. So next, so that is the reason HR are not owned by the firm. They can work away anytime they want. So they can walk over to other organizations. So you cannot stop. Of course, there are some policies wherein you'll have to just fix for some notice period and all, but nobody can tie you and keep in that particular organization. So they cannot be duplicated. Cannot be duplicated means if you are not there in that organization, they cannot show that you are working in this organization plus you are working in other organizations. So you cannot be duplicated means you cannot, if you are not working in the organization, nobody can just show you, okay, that you are there present in the organization. So value of HR may decline. So value of individual assets may, it is like may, it is not necessary that always the value of HR will decrease, they might decline. So that is the reason HR will work more on skill development programs. So you need to continuously be on development programs because you should not fall under this category. You should always be raising, and to stick upon, to be present in the organization, you should always be developing your own skills, which in turn develops the organization skills as well. So moving upon to the next one of the very important concept, the investment perspective of human resource. See, it is not just enough that you are getting people and you are just living on to his chair and asking him to work. See, you are investing on him. You are spending lakhs of money on the person, whomever you are getting in, whomever you are recruiting. So it is very important to know what is the return that you are getting from him. So is your investment working upon? How effective or efficient your investment is? So a man can make a desert into an attractive paradise. Don't you think so? Same way, the same man can make the same paradise into desert as well within no seconds. Don't you guys agree? So here also, human resource is one of the most important resource in an organization. The success or failure of an organization largely depends on how human resource is used to utilize other resources available in the organization. So as a result, the focus of human resource management has shifted towards increasing the return on investment by maximizing the productivity of human resources. Hence, evaluating the quality, costs and benefits of HR are very crucial to organization, much likely any other capital investments. So when an organization views human resources as an investment rather than a variable cost, it has to consider management values, cost, then risks and return when making human resource decisions. Then the organization has to consider the nature and skills needed by the employees and whether they are suitable for that particular jobs. Then to train them, much like servicing machineries. Yes, very important that they have to train them. Then their utilitarian, then their bottom line perspectives, then availability of outsourcing. So once an organization has developed a competitive advantage in human resource, the competitors may try to attract those competent employees. Hence, the competitor might even be at a better position to offer a higher pay as they do not have to spend on training and development. So therefore, organizations have to develop their human resource management policies and strategies in such a way to retain the employees and to transfer the knowledge from employee to employee within the organization. Moreover, viewing human resource management from an investment perspective allows organization to be more proactive and protect their own knowledge as they are being created. So this also helps to develop strategic plans to minimize the risk and motivate the employees to stay in the organization long enough to maximize the return on investment. So this requires valuing its employees, then making decisions on good compensation benefits, then advancement opportunities and retention strategies, as well as how much to be invested on each of these area and for each employee as well. So guys, again I'm repeating, this is one of the very important aspects of SHRM. So moving upon to our next important topic, which is strategic fit framework. So the strategic fit framework mainly indicates the relationship between external circumstances and human resource management. So in other words, HR practices should fit the strategies and activities responding to the environment. For instance, when a firm considers the development and expansion of foreign market, the Department of HR will recruit the employees with cross-cultural and foreign background and foreign market experiences. So a research scholar called Derrily and Doughty, I'll just type it for you. So Derrily and Doughty in the year 1996 employed contingency variables to examine the fit between HR and between HR practices and competitive strategy. So from the perspective of internal context, fit to an ideal set of practices argues that the ideal set of HR practices will be general, efficient for different organization and various strategies and business activities as well. So the fit. So here I've mentioned Derrily and it should be DOTY. I'll just change it for you. It is DOTY of 1996. So anyway, the fit as bundles demonstrate that the different bundles of HR practices can improve performances of HR and organizations. The distinctive bundles of HR practices establish a coherent and consistent system as well, which we'll be actually discussing in our next few slides. So here we are speaking about the 5 fits which he is proposed. So one is best fit approach, then fit as contingency, then best practice approach, then fit as bundles, and again all these will be speaking in details. Then fit as gestalt. So gestalt is basically a psychological what I can say, it is a psychological fit, which is like basically, so it includes learning and perception and hearing impairment. So how an individual person perceive all these aspects and whether they strategically fit into the approach or the position. Here Gestalt psychology also helped introduce the idea that human perception is not just about seeing what is actually present in the world around us. So much of what we perceive is heavily influenced by our motivations and even our expectations too. So moving upon to our best fit approach. So the best fit approach is like this linkage is referred as external fit or vertical integration, means the linkage of HR strategies with our business strategies. So this is mostly based on the classification of all our HR strategies, like different types of business strategies. Then it can be stages in the business or the product cycle, then types of number of products. So when we are speaking about HR classification, so let us speak even about the classification corresponding to the stages of organizations life cycle. So here life cycle stages are startups and growth, maturity, decline. So you would be studied this in your marketing management. So here in each stage, so each of these life cycle, our HR practices will vary. So when you are there in our startup stage, here you speak more about flexible pattern of work, then recruitment of highly motivated and committed employees, because still we are in startups and we want people to put their maximum involvement, and we need our employees to be engaged, highly engaged. So, and competitive pay, since we are startup, we are looking for better people, and so we need to be pay good compensation, then very little formalities. Then when our organization in the growth stage, then more sophisticated recruitment and selection. Then here we have to bring upon training and development aspects, then performance management process, then reward. Slowly we'll start off with reward systems, then developing stable employee relations. So here we have to think of having stable employee relation. Here we have to think of retaining our most important HR. Okay, next going on to maturity stage. Here we look after attention of the control of labor costs, then focus on increasing productivity. Then here we try to control our compensation system. So starting we pay huge salaries, later on we pay competitive salaries, but again we try to control our compensatory benefits. So in declining stage, it emphasizes more on rationalization. So going on to the next aspect, which is linking business strategy and the HR strategy. Yes, so here we are trying to integrate business strategy with HR strategy. Here when you are speaking about cost leadership, here we think of utilization of HR strategy. When you are speaking about differentiation, we think about facilitation of HR strategy. When the business strategy is focused, then you think about accumulation of HR strategy. So now let us look into how Miles and Snow has classified business strategy with HR strategy. He basically identified 4 business level strategies called as defender, prospector, analyzer, and reactor. So here the 4th one is actually missing, which should be the reactor. So please, when you guys are making upon note, just add on this. Here there should be another column called as reactor. Now speaking about defender strategy, organization implementing a defender strategy attempt to protect their market from new competitors. So as a result of this narrow focus, their organization seldom need to make major adjustments in their technology, structure, or the method of operations. Instead, they devote primary attention to improving the efficiency of their existing operation, and defenders can be successful especially when they exist in a declining industry or a stable environment. So because of this, they actually follow a bureaucratic approach, and they mostly plan on building of human resources as well. So next, going upon to prospect strategy. Organization implementing a prospect strategy are innovative, so creative, and they have a flexible style of management. Then they seek out new opportunities, take risks, and they try to grow up. They emphasize on good recruitment, selection, and performance-based compensations, because this leads to better motivation. They regularly experiment with potential responses to emerging environmental trends, and thus these organizations often are the creators of change and uncertainty to which their competitors must respond. So, in such an environment, creativity is most important than efficiency down here. So, when you're speaking about analyzer strategy, organization implementing these analyzer strategies attempt to maintain their current businesses and to be somewhat innovative in new businesses. Then some products are targeted towards stable environment in which an efficiency strategy is designed to retain current customers is much employed. Then they also attempt to balance HR planning, and they make key they have key human resources, and they also have a very low level monitoring and coordination. Then so however, it is very difficult for organizations to maintain these multiple and contradictory processes and new product lines as well. So when going to the last one, that is reactor strategy, and please make sure that you make a note here, and since it is not there in the slide, the last one is reactor strategy. So organizations that follow reactor strategy they don't have a consistent strategy or structure relationship as well. So rather than defining a strategy to suit a specific environment, reactors respond to environmental threats and opportunities in ad hoc fashion. So the term itself says they react, so they have a reactor strategies. So sometimes what will happen, these organizations are innovative, and sometimes they attempt to reduce costs, and sometimes they do both. So reactors are organizations in which top management frequently perceive change and uncertainty occurring in their organizational environment, but are unable to respond very effectively. So therefore, failed organization often are a result of this reacting or reactor strategies. So reactor strategies, practically speaking, they don't work much effectively. So looking upon to the next approach, which is the VRIO approach. So this is one of the again very important topics. So when we are speaking about the organization, what makes your organization special? So what are the USPs? What do you mean by USPs? USPs are unique selling products. So what is your USP? So how close are your competitors to overtaking you? Then too many companies can't answer questions like these, and they simply believe hard work will guarantee success and so on. But this VRIO framework is a strategic analysis tool designed to help organizations uncover and protect the resources and capabilities that give them a long competitive advantage. So the framework should be put into play after the creation of a vision statement, but before the strategic planning process. Why is this? The differentiators and advantages you identify will determine how to approach the marketplace and inform strategic decisions that shape the fate of your company. So this VRIO framework uncovers sustained competitive advantage. So VRIO is an acronym for four words which I can say, which is called as value, rarity, imitability, and organization. So this value, the term value, Ads like, do you offer a resource? Means it actually questions like, do you offer a resource that adds value for customers? Are you able to exploit an opportunity or neutralize competition with an internal capability? So now you have to think whether your answer is yes or no. If your answer is no, then you are at a competitive disadvantage and you need to reassess your resources and capabilities to uncover the value. In case if your answer is yes, then you will move upon to the next what I can say, next aspect, which is called as rarity. So what is this rarity question? So what kind of questions you can just focus on in under rarities? Do you control scarce resources or capabilities? Do you own something that's hard to find yet in demand? So again, if your answer is no, then you have value but lack rarity, then putting your company in a position of competitive parity. Then your resources are valuable but very common because everyone else has. There is no rarity in the resources what you are providing. So which makes competitive in marketplaces more challenging, but of course it is not impossible. In case your answer is yes, so your resources and whatever you are having is rare, so your rarity is defined, then you can go to the next hurdle, which is imitability. So this imitability asks, is this expensive to duplicate your organization's resources or the capability? Is it difficult to find an equivalent substitute to compete with your offerings? In case your answer is no, so that means your resources are having value and they are rare. So they have rarity but is affordable and easy to copy. So you have a temporary competitive advantage. So it will require considerable effort to stay ahead of competitors and differentiate your services. So again, you will have to go back to the step 1, which is value, and you will have to reassess again. So in order to be more competitive advantage. In case if your answer is yes, that means you will have to yes, it is very hard to imitate your product, and so now you can focus on your organization. So when going to the next step, that is organization, so what are the questions that might be probably popping upon are, does your company have organized management system, processes, structures and culture to capitalize on resources and capabilities? So do you have these capabilities? Do you have this cultural capitalizing? Do you have the proper structure and so on? If your answer is no, without the internal organization and support, it will be very difficult to fully realize the potential or your variable or your rarity, and it will be too costly to imitate resources. So your company will have an unused competitive advantage and will need a reassessing how to attain the needed organization. In case your answer is yes, your company has achieved the ultimate goal of sustained competitive advantage when it has successfully identified all 4 components of the VRIO framework. So to have a complete clear thing about VRIO, aspect about VRIO, I'll just give you a small example taking Google. So there is no doubt that Google is one of the very most powerful companies in the entire world, and its success arguably stems from a sustained competitive advantage in human capital management. Don't you guys agree with me? So now, since we are in strategic human resource management class, let us try to break down Google's VRIO. So what is VRIO? value, rarity, imitability, and organization. So let us try to break down this VRIO framework from HR perspective. Yes, as I told you, we are there in strategic human resource management class. So first, looking upon value. So Google use human capital management data to hire and retain innovative, productive employees. So these employees consistently create some of the most popular consumer products and services in the whole world. So we are entirely dependent on Google. So don't forget our Google Maps or Google search engines or Google Scholars and many more things. And even complete Android is again our contacts. Everything is dependent on our Google IDs, Google emails and everything. So rarity. No other companies are using data-based employees management so extensively. I think you'll have to agree with me. We don't have any other better apps like Google Maps and so on, and everything is being synchronized and integrated. So immediately once you add your Google account, you get all the apps that you have been utilizing or using. Then moving on to imitability, then data-based human capital management is both costly and very difficult to imitate. Yes, they've invested lots and crores of money in this. So of course it is very costly and yes, difficult to imitate. So at least for coming near future. So companies have to build the software and invest in training their HR staff on a new technology and strategy. Only then they can just be in competitive advantage with Google. Then they've already jumped into organization. So Google is organized to capture value from this capability. The IT department has the skills to collect and maintain the data, while HR and team leaders are trained on how to use the data to hire, to promote, to manage and improve performance of employees. So hence, having a VRIO framework in place allowed Google to take a completely different approach to human capital management and make decisions using massive amounts of objective data. So as said earlier, committing to the VRIO process and evolving your analysis over time will protect your sustained competitive advantage, yes, of your company. So moving upon to our next approaches is HR bundles approach, which we have stated in our starting of strategic fit. So guys, it is very important to know all these approaches because sometimes you can get them for even case studies. You might have to solve these case studies using HR approaches. And yes, HR bundles, see, in general terms, the bundles approach is also termed as internal fit or horizontal integration. The purpose of bundling is to bring about coherence between HR practices. Coherence exists when a mutually reinforcing set of HR practices is developed to contribute to a strategic objectives of the organization, so that these practices ensure the matching of resources to the needs of organization and bring about a very good performance quality. So moving upon to the next approach, which is the best practice approach. So the best practice approach claims that certain bundles of HR activities exist which universally support companies in reaching the competitive advantage regardless of the organizational setting or an industry. So the best practice models implies a close connection between HR practices and organizational performance and are often associated with high commitment management. So many of the empirical research in the best practices field show similar groups of HR policies which are especially suitable for maximizing performance irrespective of the market product strategies. So among which some of them are employment security. Yes, job security plays a major role in competitive advantage, because this is what helps in this. These are what helps in retaining our employees. Then selective hiring, then team working, then high pay contingent, so the compensation benefits, then extensive training. Yes, you have to give an extensive training to be much competitive in the present market. Then reduction of status differences, then information sharing. So it's very important regarding this information sharing. Information sharing is not that you have to go share the information with the outside world. It is information sharing means among your company and among the different departments or among functional departments. You can't say that you are in finance department and you can't share any information with HR department. No, it's very important that you think about information sharing and what kind of information to be shared and what kind of information to be transferred, and all. They're all critical, so you will have to be very careful in all these things, and some sort of flexibility should always be given in order to be competitive advantage, in order to retain our employees in our organization. So today I would like to end up the session for this aspect. Next, let us meet in the next session of SHRM. So I hope you guys have understood the very important approaches of SHRM, and so thank you.